lines that drew me to my history to ferment a future distilled in the past.
Get your slides.
Oh, it's not time to start it. Now it is. So, yeah. Okay. There we go. There are lines we cross and we know there's no turning back. It's that first unimaginable step. I literally chose a fiery one recently. Yes, it was hot, and yes, I did not get burned. There are lines that communicate. Imagine a world without connectivity. Phone lines, computer lines, hi-fi, lo-fi, lines that tie us neatly to each other. There are lines that remind us of bygone generations where porches meet people, face to face, chair to chair, toe to toe, and eye to eye. This is at my Aunt Robbie's house. There are lines that have passed, and you wish you could grasp them once again with even more love and understanding than you were capable of showing at the time. This is my dad, and he passed a few years ago. There are lines that have inspired you for the entirety of your life, yet sometimes they're so familiar you forget how inspirational they are. This is my mom. I just took a belly dance and she had my scarf on. There are lines that point you in unexpected directions, looking back at your ancestors so you can look forward to the future. This is my ancestral line. There are lines written in books about pioneers and Revolutionary War heroes that explain your ancestors' historic efforts. You would not be standing here today if it weren't for those. I'm originally from Lynchburg, Tennessee.
That explains a lot.
Then a storyline begins to write itself. These are the Motlows. They were one of the founding families in Lynchburg. This is the old Motlow homestead, which stands today. Seated to the far left, you see my great-grandfather, Franklin Spoon Motlow. After my father's passing in 2011, something almost ethereal moved me to begin investigating my roots. One night, after being out with friends, I Googled Spoon Motlow again, and I see a link to a directory in Chattanooga dated 1911. He had a business, and we were standing in that very spot 100 years ago earlier. I was slightly freaked out. And it's the spot between the DRC and the meeting place. Spoon began in the whiskey business in Lynchburg with his cousin Lynn Motlow in the 1880s. He opened the first saloon in Gadsden, Alabama in 1896. And he also had a distillery there in 1906 with 7 buildings that were painted red. And yes, they called him Spoon. We still don't know why. This was the cash register at the saloon. His name is engraved on the top. It sat in Jack Daniel's Welcome Center for about 20 years. It's now back in my family, which is miraculous in itself. It's beautiful. This is a bottle of Spoon Motlow whiskey, Coosa River corn, Stanford Springs water, Lincoln County process. This is the logo of Motlow Brothers Distilling Company in Birmingham, Alabama. Spoon, Lynn, Tom, and Felix had distilleries spread throughout the region, from Lynchburg to Gadsden to St. Louis until Prohibition. He died during Prohibition, leaving my grandmother an orphan. I hope to honor his legacy and resurrect Motlow Distilling Company with the following brands. Spoonshine, and this is him right here, the dogs. That would be a manly traditional whiskey. This is Buckshot. It's a greener whiskey, less aged. Whiskey makes you frisky. Thanks to Cece, gave me that title. And that is my dog, Buck. Double Motlow. This is my grandmother and my namesake. It's a refined whiskey, double distilled, named for my grandmother, who's the only Motlow descendant who has Motlow on both sides of her family, going back 6 generations. I'll own it. Grave digger! Medicinal, herbal, a liquor, or possibly a gin aged in a whiskey barrel. Dig the grave. Pot liquor, culinary brand. This actually is a savory topping to go on turnip greens and pinto beans, or to use as a marinade. And I also have a sweet one that's for desserts and pie and ice cream. This is my grandmother's apron. These are all my photographs. Motlow Distilling Company. This is the logo. 2014. Bringing whiskey to the world. Visual, ethereal, figurative, and imagined. Lines that drew me to my history to ferment a future distilled in the past. Thank you.